13 years ago, I moved back to India and I started working on large scale change initiatives. Initially, I was quite frustrated because many of the change initiatives failed to meet their goals. And when I researched this further, I found to my surprise that 90% of change and innovation initiatives failed to meet their goals. When I dug deeper, it turns out that almost all change management initiatives use training and communication as the exclusive strategy with a one size fits all approach. Maybe that's the problem. By some chance, I started reading Jeffrey Moore's brilliant book Crossing the Chasm in the year 2005, which was originally published in 1991. Jeffrey Moore came out with a breakthrough insight that many startups fail because they fail to cross the chasm between the early adopter community and the early majority community. And he goes on to give techniques and strategies on how to cross the chasm. Jeffrey Moore added the chasm, extending Everett Rogers' model of the diffusion of innovation, which is a landmark work that Dr. Rogers published in the year 1962. He was studying the adoption of new potato strains, seeds, and so on, and he came up with the curve that you see here, which is called as the diffusion of innovation curve. I realized that Jeffrey Moore is talking about the change is mindset, innovator, early adopter, laggard, that determines how well you adopt the innovation or change, and that has to be accounted for. But I found an issue. I'll give you an example. I am a printed book fanatic, but I hate the Kindle. Even though I've never used the Kindle, I hate it. Isn't that interesting? Even before your change initiative starts, a few people have a negative opinion about it. But that's how the human mind works. Interestingly, the same me is also an enthusiast for social media technologies, blogging, Twitter, Facebook, etc. So the insight is that the change is mindset is not universal. An early adopter in one thing need not be an early adopter in another, and a laggard in one thing need not be a laggard in everything. I found these patterns within my own team and I was able to leverage it. So if you are running a Kindle initiative and you are targeting me, you might fail. With these insights, and I simplified the number of categories into a simple, what I call traffic light model: green, yellow, and red. You initially go after the greens, which form about 20% of the population, establish the value hypothesis, show that your change initiative is valuable, and use that to cross to the yellows and reds. Now Kumaran looked at it and he came up with the insight that when you look at a change from an effort or complexity perspective, you have the same traffic light model: easy, medium, and hard. And we advocate that you go after the easy components first with the green enthusiasts, build momentum, and then scale the initiative. These are the exact principles that we use for the managed innovation program and the One Cognizant program, which were transformative within Cognizant. Now that begs the question, how big is this chasm going to be and how will it affect our change initiative? Through my work and research, I found that the chasm is directly proportional to the magnitude of change. The smaller the change, the smaller the chasm, the bigger the change, the bigger the chasm. So in our change initiative design, we have to account for this chasm and think that through. Last time I mentioned that I was opposed to the Kindle, and a change initiative targeting me with a Kindle will be very hard to pull off. Now someone asked me, if I were the only key stakeholder, how would somebody run such a change initiative? Now that brings us to an interesting nuance of the traffic light model that Kumaran pointed out. When you zoom into this red, which is me, and look at my direct reports in my organization, again you will see the same green, yellow, red pattern. So you could target the greens in my organization, convince them about the initiative, run it with them, use that experience to get the yellows and reds on my team, and then finally come to me saying, everybody in your team is on board, you better get on board. Interestingly, if you zoom into any of these green, yellow, red blocks, you will see green, yellow, red blocks within them. And you keep drilling down, you keep seeing the same green, yellow, red pattern as you keep on drilling down. This in mathematics is a beautiful concept called fractals, and traffic light model seems to fit that model. With that, let me summarize the last 5 episodes on how to produce a breakthrough or a transformational change. We first start by identifying a performance undersupply from the bottom of the iceberg, which has kind of become an accepted feature of the system. We now envision an extreme pivot that solves that performance undersupply. Then we take the features, boil it down to a critical features which we call as the minimum viable product or the MVP. And we look for the greens or enthusiasts who are most eager to adopt this MVP. Use that experience, build on it, tweak the system, and then cross the chasm depending on the size of the change. Get the yellows on board and then get the reds on board. This is how transformational change can be produced. Now, I was looking to demonstrate this whole traffic light model, and by some chance, I landed on Derek Sivers' brilliant video on how to start a movement in 3 minutes. I have crunched this video to fit my timeline, and let's see how this goes here. You can see the first person starting to dance. He's making very simple moves, as you can see. The second one started. He's also making only simple moves. The third one has joined in. Then the fourth and the fifth, and you can see the greens have congregated. As I pointed out, because this is a very simple change, there is no chasm. The yellows have joined in. Now the people still sitting are the reds, who are also eventually forced to join the movement. This is how in 3 minutes he produces a movement, and it's a great demonstration of the traffic light model.